So you guys have me on record stating that I hit record, all of you. Okay, let me see if I can get my lighting back since it's picky. I don't know why it does that, but we'll see if it helps at least for a little bit. I hate this camera. I like it, but sometimes it's so temperamental. I don't understand why. It's one of the best ones out there, and for some reason it does not like scrapbooking. I think it's because of the way it's pointed down. It doesn't like catching the light correctly. But, okay. I'll go ahead and point it up for a little bit. You can see behind me I have a clean room. Ha ha ha. It's a webcam. It's a webcam it's separate from my computer. Can you hear me? Hear me? Okay. Excuse me. So today we're doing a little special project. Tuesday. I know that's a little odd for Live with Prima, but we wanted to give our friends down in Brazil a nice special day. We can do this project for them. Thank you very much for asking me. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the products we're going to be using. We're going to be using papers from the Londonary collection. Hi. I'm going to show you some of them. This one's, again, a nice periwinkle color. Nice periwinkle blue, purple. It has polka dot pattern. On the opposite side, it has the alphabet with some vintage looking items on there. Marvelous, marvelous. This is going to be our background page. And another page where, oh, the name on that, I'm sorry. Sampler is the name on that one. Manor House is going to be this page, and this is the one we're going to be cutting a few of the pieces out. I use this little frame to frame our photo, which is a 2x3. It's about a wallet size. Okay, and then this is the back of it. Nice background page with some vintage writing, postage pieces, and things like that. And then we're also going to be taking pieces from Courier. And this has these are about the size of an ATC card, can be trimmed down. And then the back, we're going to cut a piece off of this nice, pretty green color. Okay. Then the embellishments we are going to use are these cool blue flowers. They're silk, like a silk embroidered layered flower, very textured flower. And these are lovely fabric leaves. Sorry, not flower, leaves. Take a couple out so you can kind of see them up close. You can see those. Looky. Aren't those so pretty? And you're probably thinking, those don't really go with our project, our papers. But I'm going to show you a couple little techniques and items you can use to customize those. Okay? And we're also going to be using these lovely leaves as well. And these have like a gold and pearl finish to them. Show you those. Aren't those pretty? See, my nails aren't too hot when they're up close. Okay. We're also going to be using these really pretty flowers, the Fitzgerald in cream or something. These ones, they have a really pretty center piece in them. With a lot of beads and sequins. I really like these. Very pretty layered silk flower. And these flowers are Allegra Madonna. And we're going to pull these apart. We're going to use bits and pieces around our page with these little flowers. Really fun little trinkets that hang off the end. They have nice little pearl centers. We're going to pull these apart. We're also going to be using the art tiles. I'm only using one on this piece, but I'm going to give you a little technique that I do with them, and you've probably seen it before if you've seen my Live with Prima videos, how you can alter these and use them on jewelry and things of that nature. And the last piece we are going to use of Prima are these felt vines. I really like Prima's felt pieces because you can alter them so many different ways. They are really thick material and they have adhesive on the back. So we are going to actually embellish the adhesive back side to put on our project. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. Move our papers. Oh, one other piece we're going to be using is a stencil, but I'll show that to you a little bit later. Okay, so this is the page we're going to be using. You're going to need three-dimensional foam squares, not many, just a couple, because a lot of our depth is going to be built up by our leaves that we're going to put in the background. So, let me find my stencil. This is the stencil we're going to be using. It's the Donna Downey Polka Dot. As you can see, it's well used. I kind of a bad habit of cleaning off my screens. All right, so we're going to be using that as well to add some texture. So let's start with our periwinkle blue background paper. And the name on it is, let me straighten you out a little bit. Again, is sampler. This is the sampler piece. And we are going to start out with some of these leaves. All right. I'm going to pull out pretty much all of them, actually. I'm going to use this whole pack on this one layout. We're also going to pull out some from our gold and pearl leaves. And we're going to blend these all together. Okay. And what I did was I made a focal point towards the center, not exactly the center, but I made a focal point around the center of my page with layers of these leaves, okay? And I made a little kind of starburst pattern with them, mixed in different textures. Let's see. Like this. And here. Okay. And you just want kind of a little star pattern. It's kind of getting a little wonky. Let me move this around a little bit. Start like that. There we go. And we just add as we go out. Doesn't have to be exact because a lot of this will be covered by our picture and our other embellishments. But I like the fact that we're building the depth of our page with these cool little leaves. Okay, let me show you the finished layout, and you could see that you could see the leaves poking out of the bottom and the side, the top. Okay, so a couple more, and then we'll glue them down and get to painting. We're going to use a lot of gesso. That's okay. All right. So the adhesive I'm using is Fabri-Tac by Beacon, a really good liquid adhesive, multi-use adhesive. I've never had anything fall off using their adhesives, and I use a lot of it. So I can attest to how well it actually does work because I use it on everything. And I've used it for years and I've never had an issue. So really good product. I'm just going down. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat because when we come through with the gesso, it's going to kind of help as a binding agent as well. I just want to make sure they're going to stay in place as I put the paint over the top, the gesso over the top, I should say. All right. Let's see. Got to kind of poke around and see which ones haven't been down yet. I'm just kind of lifting them in place. I don't want to shift my design too much, so I'm just picking them up here and there. Like so. Oh, let's move this guy back out. If you get a little glue, don't worry about it because again, we're going to cover it. This is a lot more forgiving than hot glue would be. You have a moment to actually move the pieces around if you don't have them exactly where you like them. Hot glue cools so quickly that you don't have a lot of give and working time with that medium. So, plus my possibilities of burning myself are a lot lower when using my beacon. Okay. All right. And one more. One more just because. Now you'll see how bold and bright all of this looks on here right now. And we're going to totally change the appearance in just a second. So look at our little leaf sunburst that we created. Now we are going to go back through and alter it with some gesso. Grab my gesso here. And I'm just going to take, I use packaging for my palettes. If you want to take the paper packaging out and just use the cellophane, it's a good way to save on buying an actual palette, and it's a way to reuse the pieces. So I'm just going to pour my gesso out. We are going to need somewhat of a good amount. I like the leaves as is. Well, I'm giving you a little tip. If you like the leaves as is, leave them this way. You can layer your stuff on top, or I'm going to show you a way that you can alter them so that you can use them on a different project. The project you may have that you want to use and add texture to, these leaves may not match. So I'm going to give you just a little idea. Plus, adding the gesso to these adds a nice stiffening agent. So it creates something that will hold up in your albums without crushing anything of your elements. So this helps add some substance to the page, I guess you could say. You just paint in all those little crevices, kind of little swirly-do strokes in there to get all of the little rosettes that are in these leaves. And I'm going to shoot off my gesso just a little bit off of my leaves a little bit. Okay. And you can leave some of the color peeking out. This is just time to kind of tone down that really deep color. Now I was asked what kind of gesso, brand of gesso I used. This, I have Liquitex. Excuse me. I have Liquitex gesso in a large bottle. You can get whatever you prefer or can find. I do suggest that you spend a little extra money for the artist quality. When you get into the academic, the cheaper brand, you're usually going to use more anyways. It doesn't cover, it's not quite as thick as the higher end brands are. So I do suggest spending the extra $2 or $3 to get the artist's quality gesso, because you will in the long run save money. If I was using the academic or even like school, well, academic, but like this elementary brand or level of gesso, it would take me a lot longer to cover this really dark color in our leaves. Okay, so looky, okay? So I'm just gonna blend that in a little bit more, and then I'm gonna hit this with my heat gun so we could get this dry. So we can move on to the next step. We're gonna add a little more, we're gonna add color back into this that's a little more neutral, that will match our project a little better with our chalkings in just a second. So let's go ahead and dry that. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. here. Gesso doesn't take that long to dry, but we did put quite a bit on here. It may not be completely dry for me to, you know, if you were doing it, you may take a little bit longer to dry the piece. But since we are in a time limit and you don't want to hear me run the heat gun for an hour, we'll just hit it really quickly. Just enough for me to go to the next step. Alright. Couple here and there we want to hit really good. I think we're good. Okay, the next step what we're going to do is we're going to actually add our texture. And what I use for the texture is light molding paste. This is Liquitex as well. You can also find it by Golden. Oh my goodness. You can find it by Golden. This is just a molding paste. It's really it's a gritty texture, and it will just help add dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a palette knife. If you have, say, an old credit card or something, gift card, you could use that as well. I'm just going to use my little palette knife, and I'm just going to add some polka dots over our page. Now I'm going to kind of overlap them onto our leaves. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay. I just want little bits and pieces, and as you can see, kind of added texture on top of the leaves as well. I'm going to come up here, over the top. This just creates more appeal to the page, and it's quick. This will hold the dimension. Gesso can flatten out if it doesn't dry quick enough. It won't hold the dimension like molding paste will. So I suggest if you want to find this, you can also get like drywall putty at the hardware store. I have had that crack on me later on down the road. It falls apart a little bit easier than the artist supplies do, but you can use that in case your hubby has some on hand. So we added 3 focal points with the polka dot background and some molding paste. So I'm going to hit that again with our heat gun just so it's workable, so I'm able to touch it. Okay, this is the texture molding, light molding paste, so that you're able to see the brand and the name. Should be able to find it at your local Michael's or art supply store. Now let's go ahead and dry it again. I need it dry enough to run our chalkings over the top, so we're not quite dry yet. Alright. Okay. How's everybody doing out there today? Hope everyone is doing well. I think we're good. Okay, it's not completely dry, but it's dry enough I can run my chalkings over the top. Now the chalkings I'm going to use, let's grab my colors here. I'm going to use a couple. Let's see. I want to use a couple just to add different tones to it. Let's add dry sand. And I want to use a pastel, one of the new pastels. Here it is, it's hiding. Oh, attic dust, and where did it go? Okay, change of plans. We're going to use the sand, dry sand, as well as attic dust. And I'm just going to run this right over the top. And what this will do is add a little color to it. Now, if you left it this way, this would make a really pretty winter background for a winter layout. But since we're using different color tones, I'm going to go back in and add some color. Okay. Kind of vintages it, antiques it a little bit. Run that over the top. It helps our little polka dots stand out a little more. Just here and there. Add another lighter color. This is more of a gray tone to it. And I'm going right over all my art mediums. Make sure they are dry, but you can go all over your art mediums with your chalkings. Okay? Okay, look at that. So this is our background so far. Are you ready? So I'm going to put this aside because I have some other papers I want to cut some pieces out of. And you know what? We are missing a piece of paper. Let me grab that. It is the Fnac page. I'm not going to pull out a new one because what we're going to do is we're going to cut out some of the leaves on the back. And let's put our background aside. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out some of our goodies. Oh my. Where did my... Sorry, folks. I was using my craft knife for another project, and it got up and grew legs and walked away. Oh, heavens. Okay. Let's go ahead and... Darn that. Put that aside. Okay. So again, we're going to cut some of the pieces of paper out of some of the leaves out of this design. It's a really fun background to fussy cut off of. And I am going to show you a few pieces we're going to cut. Ow! Sorry. Okay, first what I do when I fussy cut, let me put my distressor aside. We're going to use that in a little bit. When I fussy cut, I go ahead and rough cut my piece out. It makes it easier. Just like so. Okay. Cut out a couple more. Like here. It's nothing too fancy. Alright. That way when you cut it, rough cut them out, the big piece of paper is not getting in your way and hindering the cutting process. Okay, so next what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly cut these out. I left a little border on them just because the inside of the design is the same color. So I thought it would just be easier to leave it there instead of trying to get exact. Let me just cut those. Okay. Put that aside. We're not getting too exact, so you can use a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife on this step for this particular design. We just want the little leaves as an accent in our background when we're layering. Okay. And you could get a lot of leaves for a lot of projects out of this one piece of paper. You could use it for a lot of different things. And these are neutral colors. So a fun idea would be, with the neutral color that they are, you could cut these out and then spray them. In the spray, the mist, or even your chalks, will color the neutral leaves whatever color you want them. So you can make them green, whatever, blue, orange or red for fall. All right. And notice I'm moving the paper. I'm not moving my hands with the scissors. I'm moving the paper around to guide myself. And keeping my scissor hands still, and you'll get an easier cut that way. So it's almost like a jigsaw. When you use a jigsaw, you're moving the piece of wood and not the blade itself. Okay. Last one. All right. Throw my scraps aside. And another piece we are going to have to cut. So here are our little accent pieces that we just cut out of the paper. These, they're poking out through the sides. We're now going to need to cut our 2 cards, our little frame, and we're also going to cut a couple of the words out of our pages. So next we're going to use this is the courier page. We're going to cut out this little monkey. You could cut any of them out. I just decided the green on this one looked really nice, but all of these would go really well with our background that we've created. So I'm just going to cut that out. And I'm actually going to cut 2 out because I want them the same size, but I'm going to use the opposite side of the paper. So let's just cut these bad guys out. I'm going to use the one above it, so let's cut it away from our page. Okay. If you have a corner little chomper, you could cut these straight and then come back in with the corner rounder. I'm just going to cut them while I have them out. Like so. I'm going to do the same one to this card. I get a little fussy with my fussy cutting, but don't we all sometimes? Da, 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 da. All right. Here we go. So we have this piece with a nice pretty flower on it. You could turn it this way, and then we have our little monkey, and he's going to hide behind our photo frame, so it doesn't really matter what's on towards the bottom of your little card. And out of this next piece, what we're going to do is we're going to choose one of these 3 would make really good frames. I'm going to go ahead and go for this one this time. I used this one the first time, and I just cut out the inside frame and put my picture inside that frame. And this time I'm going to use the postage stamp or ticket looking one. I'm going to cut that ticket out and use that instead. Or actually, let's go ahead and layer them. Let's try something a little different. So let's go ahead and cut both of these out. Always up for something new, right? That's why we're here. is to try something new and step out of our comfort zone. Now you can cut these with your straight line, which I probably should have. Oh, that's okay, right? Okay. Okay, our 2 pieces. And okay. I know why I don't have my X-Acto knife or my craft knife. It's because I dulled the blade and I didn't get a new one. And that's why it's missing. Okay. So we have our little frame. We're going to use this frame for our page. Let's start building our background. Sorry about that, guys. So this is how our little piece is going to start being brought together. You can put these either way, this one on top, this one on top, it doesn't really matter. Leave that down for you. And then our photo would go here. You can cut the opening out and put it from behind, or you can save this, which I am going to do. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and somebody can put their picture right on top. And we're just going to place some of our little bits and pieces together, like so. Okay. Here are all of our floral or our little paper elements. Now let's get into the fun part of our paper and flower, not paper, but flower embellishments. We're going to use all 3 flowers of the Fitzgerald collection. And again, these are the flowers we're going to be using. All right. We're going to use all 3 of them on this layout. We're going to be using both of these little guys. We're going to tear them apart and use different pieces. We're going to use one of these vines, which I'm going to go ahead and pull out and embellish so that we could put it on our page. Let's go ahead and put this aside so I don't get glitter, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you something. As you can see, the front is regular felt and the back is adhesive backed. It has an adhesive on it, and you can pull this little protective layer off. Now I like using these too. You can take your chalk inks, let me show you. Take a bold one so you can see. You can take your chalk inks right to the backing on these, and you can use these on a project as well. You can see that. So you can alter these and use them also. So why waste the extra little bit that you can use? Now let me get a piece of paper, just a plain white piece of paper. I'm going to dump out some glitter. I don't want it getting all over my desk. And since the back's already has adhesive on it, all I have to do is pour some glitter down. Okay, so I'm just going to pour glitter across my little piece of felt. This is just a bronze glitter that I'd found. Okay, you just tap that glitter into the adhesive backing and pick some of it up from the paper and tap that in. Make sure you got a nice even coat and you don't have any spots on it that are still sticky that haven't gotten glitter attached to it. Okay. You can even tip it over and kind of tap it that way. And then tap off your excess glitter. And look at, we have a nice little embellished piece just by adding glitter to it. Alright. What I'm going to do is take my paper, fold it in half, tap lightly on both sides, and then that way I can pour it back into my jar for next time. I'm not wasting a whole bunch. Okay. There we go. Ta-da! Look how easy that was. You can even put embossing powders on these. You can take embossing powders and heat emboss the powders onto the pieces of felt. The only thing I suggest is when you do heat them, you have to heat them from far away. It's going to take longer for the embossing powder to emboss. But you can heat emboss. You just have to keep the heat further away, and it takes a little bit longer, or you will start melting some of the felt. So back to our little page, and let's start setting everything out. All right. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and glue down my 2 cards. I'm just going to glue them to our leaves. They don't have to be popped up because the leaves add dimension already. Just going to place those down at the same time so I'm able to kind of figure out where I want them. I'm going to lean this one out a little bit so that I could put flowers, base flowers on the card. Ready? I am going to use squares on the back of our photo mat. Use the big ones so we don't have to use as many. Let's see. Yeah. I'm going to do 1 layer at the top, 2 at the bottom. So we just take off our little backings and add, move this up a little bit, add another layer of foam on top. Okay. Alrighty. So we're just going to place that right like so. Let's move it over just a little bit. Like that. Okay. So we have our little focal point with our photo. And now we get to add our little embellishments. I'm going to start with the largest of the Fitzgerald flowers. Let's see, this one's probably the biggest. And I'm going to kind of tuck that underneath a little bit at the corner of our photo mat. Just like that. The little leaves are going to stick out the bottom. So we tuck those down there. Okay. And next I'm going to go ahead and layer a leaf or flower on top of its last little partner. And again, like I said, it's nice to use this liquid adhesive because you can move your pieces around without it drying or cooling off on you. Okay. And then our last one is going to go on the opposite corner of our little photo. Like that. Now I'm just going down the centers, that way you could still lift up the petals to place your photos underneath. Tuck in our other little leaves that we used. Okay. And the last piece up here. All right. So we have our Fitzpatricks on there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull apart these little beauties. And what I did is I went ahead and I pulled off the piece of the jewels or the trinkets that hang off the bottom. And they usually pull off with all the glue. So you'd have this to use. All right, so you'll have this to use. And I just hung this underneath my little flower over on this side. Okay, so they still dangle off of flower, it's just a different one, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. There's 2 small flowers and then 2 larger flowers. And what I want to do is I want to pull apart the smaller set with the pearl in the center. And this little guy is going to go up here.